Just before we get into today's video, I just wanted to let you guys know that I've recently been making some channel changes. So some videos on my channel will sort of blink out of existence, and some will be post-edited, as I'm calling it. I've written a full sort of statement on this matter, which on my Google Plus page, which I've pinned it to my Google Plus page to make it a bit easier to find. So if you guys are wondering what's happening to my channel, I'll leave a link to my Google Plus page in the description so you can read up or read the post which details about my channel changes. But either way, on to today's video. And now we move on to the next signed Doctor Who book in this little collection video. This one of which being the only short story compilation you'll see in this video, that being Time Shadows, a short story anthology benefiting the Able Community Foundation. Yeah, this is another thing that I picked up at Dimensions 2016. I knew it was sort of a charity thing, so I picked it up in the sort of anticipation of it going rare. I haven't read any of the stories from it yet, but it is a nice book to have in the collection, and what I would say is a very nice cover. In it we have the signature by Stephen Hatcher. I bought this book itself for about around 10 quid, I want to say 10-15 quid at Dimensions 2016 from a store, and it was Stephen Hatcher, one of the people who wrote one of the stories. So I got this signed from one of the authors of the short story in this compilation, and I also bought it from him as well, which is pretty cool. Even cooler, which comes with this, comes this little brochure that I've still gotten, which was on the table that the Time Shadow books were, where Stephen Hatcher was. It's like a little poster advertisement for the Time Shadows anthology. So yeah, and I still have this, and I've just sort of tucked it and kept it in the book. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. But yeah, there we go. They don't really have much more to say on it than that. It's a little bit of an oddity in the collection, really, this Time Shadows book, but it is nice to have in the collection. Up next, we move on to the Telos Deluxe stuff with a nice heaping stack of the signature deluxe novellas that I have from them. Note, I also do have a Time Hunter Peculiar Lives deluxe book. However, that is an ex-library with the autograph page ripped out, unfortunately. So I'm just going to be showing you the other ones that I have, of which I have 9 of the Telos Novella Deluxes, 3 from the Doctor Who range, and then a further 6 from the Time Hunter range, all with the autographs and pages intact, thankfully. And if you were to seen my book review on Birthright, you would know I have sort of a soft spot for the Telos novellas in a way, as I do think they are a really good range, particularly the Doctor Who ones, as I've read most of the Time Hunter ones, and they're so-so. Some of them are good, some of them are bad, and one of them in particular is pretty bad. Sort of averaging around 5 out of 10 for a Time Hunter novella, which isn't that good at all. But from the Doctor Who ones that I have read, I would say that this range of Telos novellas, the Doctor Who ones, are really good from what I've read, with one of them being one of my favourite Doctor Who books of all time, which I'm going to show you now. But yeah, the Telos Deluxe books, if you're brand new to like collecting Doctor Who books and you're looking to get some really nicely done, really well crafted and really well built collector's Doctor Who books, I cannot recommend the Telos Deluxe books enough. Some of them are really rare, some of them are really common, sort of goes up and down on the scale really, and they can be really limited, either from like 1500 copies to only 100 copies for some of the Time Hunter novellas, two of which I'm about to show you are now out of print on the Telos site, making them pretty damn rare and cool to have. Let's get on to these, starting off with the Doctor Who novellas. So we have Time and Relative by Kim Newman, which is the very first Doctor Who Telos novella ever printed, and as such the first Telos novella deluxe ever done. I have read and reviewed this one on the channel before, and it is a fantastic Doctor Who book, basically a prequel to An Unearthly Child, and if you're a fan of 1960s Doctor Who like myself, I would highly recommend this Doctor Who Telos novella, as I think it is an absolutely fantastic little prequel set a couple months just before An Unearthly Child, and I think it's absolutely great. How I obtained this particular novella is pretty lucky. This particular Telos novella deluxe is limited to, I believe, 1,400 copies, so it's one of the more mass printed Telos novella deluxes, but for some reason one of the rarer ones at the same time. For some reason this has been known to go on eBay in the past for somewhere in the total of like 100 quid. I've seen it go for 120 quid in the past at one point. I was extremely lucky with this, and I managed to get this copy, which does have a few flaws with it. There's like a bit of stainage right there, and there's a bit of a dash vent there, but I managed to get this in a 2 Telos novella deluxe bundle for 30 quid. So I got this one for 15 quid, and I got the next one for 15 quid as well. This one being The Eye of the Tiger by Paul McAuley. I have also reviewed this one on the channel as well. Bit of a sort of complicated sort of sci-fi story, and very ambitious from what I remember, and reminds me quite a bit of my favourite movie, Interstellar, which is pretty much tied with Kubrick's The Shining as my favourite movie of all time. Both of those movies I think are just fucking phenomenal. Interstellar's a bit mixed from what I've heard, but The Shining is just praised all round, even though it's got that really creepy scene at the end with that furry prostitute sucking that guy off. It's quite a nice Telos novella, really short, only 73 pages long, very nice quick short read. You can get through it in not that long at all, and I do like this one a lot, and I would rate it a 7 out of 10. Not exactly the greatest thing in the world, but it's not exactly the worst thing in the world either. Just a nice little short quick read with the 8th Doctor and his one-off companion Finn. Next up we have easily one of my absolute favourite Doctor Who books of all time. That is no other than The Cabinet of Light by Daniel O'Mahony. If you've been with me for a while, you've heard me praising this book to pieces in the past. I personally just think that this is a masterpiece by Daniel O'Mahony, an absolutely fantastic post-World War II mystery noir crime thriller novella that really manages to pack its punch despite its shortness, and is a fantastic prelude to the Telos range of Time Hunter books. I think it's just an absolutely fantastic Doctor Who book. overall, and I've read it twice, once before then I reviewed it, then a second time late last year, just out of general curiosity to get into it, and I'm tempted to reread it for a third time, and I'm tempted to read it again for a third time, and maybe do a reconstructed review on it. Yeah, very fascinating and engaging Doctor Who book, I would have said. If you can track down a copy of this deluxe, or just track down a copy of the standard edition, I would highly recommend it. This is quintessential Doctor Who reading, in my opinion. This is absolutely fantastic. If you're looking to sort of get into the Telos novellas, or sort of Doctor Who novellas and short stories in general, shorter sort of Doctor Who novels, I would personally say that this is an extremely good starting point. Ambiguous Doctor in it as well. It really leaves you guessing as to what Doctor it is, and it's not fully stated either who it is. It just mainly focuses on Honro Lasher and Emily Blondish, who are the two main characters from the Time Hunter series, of which I'm now going to show 6 deluxe books of. And to sort of give details on how I obtained these following books. The following 6 Time Hunter Deluxes were reduced to £5 each on the Telos website. So I was curious about reading and reviewing the range, to give a bit more variety to my book review series on YouTube on this channel. So I ordered all 6 of them for £5 each off of the Telos website, and it came to about 40 quid with postage included. And for some reason they threw me in this deluxe as well, the deluxe of Cabinet of Light, for completely free. They didn't state why they sent me. They didn't even give me a warning as to they were going to send me one. They just must have had one lying around the warehouse and just threw it into the package, or something like that, which is even weirder considering the fact that it's now stated out of print on the Telos website, which is crazy, or was stated as being out of print when I ordered these, and probably out of print a few years before I ordered these. So yeah, I got these 6 Time Hunter Deluxes in that Cabinet of Light Deluxe for only about 40 quid in a bundle from the Telos website, which is really nice. As you can see, the Telos Time Hunter Deluxe books have this sort of sharpshooter logo with Time Hunter at the front, and each of which has its own unique pattern. This one being the tunnel at the end of the light by Stefan Petrusha, has this very nice sort of scaly effect. Out of the ones I have read, being this one and then all of the other ones bar Deus Levolt, the Albino Stancer and the Child of Time, this is the worst Time Hunter novella that I have read by far. I personally really didn't like this Time Hunter novella at all. I did like some of the concepts to it, but I just found the execution overall to be rather dull and not that interesting. One of the worst Doctor Who books I have ever read, in my opinion. Only a 3 out of 10 for this book. It's not that good in my opinion. And we move on to the Clockwork Woman, a absolutely beautiful and fantastic cover to this Time Hunter Deluxe, I would have said. So yeah, absolutely gorgeous Doctor Who book this is. Content wise, it isn't an amazing Time Hunter novella either. It sort of is a combination of the Celestial Toymaker and the Crusade in a way, for the medieval sort of setting, and the sort of main villain or other character in this book is this sort of Clockwork Woman, as it were, who is like the Celestial Toymaker, as it were, in this. And yeah, there's quite a few sort of sexual jokes and a really overly sexual character in it. It's again not that good of a Time Hunter novella in my opinion, but I am tempted to give this whole range another chance at some point, but just not right away. But yeah, there we go, the Clockwork Woman. Then we have Kitsign, one of the better Time Hunter novellas, I would have said, this one being a 7 out of 10. in my opinion. Yeah, this is a really good sort of sort of Asia set Doctor Who Telos novella, or Doctor Who Doctor Who-esque adventure, sort of set in Kyoto, Thailand and Tokyo, Japan, I think. But yeah, really interesting Doctor Who Telos novella, or Doctor Who adventure, I would have said. Has more sort of anthro characters in it, which I quite like for obvious reasons. But yeah, this was a really good one in my opinion, as a nice sort of air of mystery to it, with the sort of whole superstitions and whatnot, about the sort of god characters that the people in this book believe in. Really interesting stuff, and is a really interesting read in my opinion. Then we have the best main Time Hunter book, I would have said, that being The Severed Man by George Mann. This is a much thicker Time Hunter novella, being around 141 pages, 144-ish pages, or 140 pages-ish, 135 rather, I'm confused. But yeah, this is one of the better, or probably the best mainline Time Hunter novella, I would have said personally. Absolutely fantastic read in my opinion. This gets an 8 out of 10, 7.5 to an 8 in my opinion. I think it's really good, really nice sort of mystery, sort of murder mystery novel, sort of reminds me a bit of the Talons of Weng-Chiang and some of the Jago and Lightfoot Big Finish audios from what I've heard of them. So if you're into that kind of stuff, I would recommend this. It's really nice and is a good read by George Mann. Then we have The Albino's Dancer, one I haven't read yet, but I am interested in giving it a go someday. Here it's still pretty new, as I've barely opened this one at all. And then there you've got the sort of autograph in there by Dale Smith, who dated it. Yeah, there's that. Then we have the finished Time Hunter book, I think, The Sideways Door by R.J. Carter and Troy Reiser. This one is a really nice sort of colour scheme to it, like the silver and black to it. Really nice sort of colour scheme in my opinion. And yeah, really nice sort of colour scheme. I have read this one before, but I think I read it but I think I should have read it in the greater context of the Time Hunter series. This feels very much like a tie-up of the previous books that followed before this in the Time Hunter range, and a big setup to the grand finale of Time Hunter, The Child of Time. But yeah, there was that, the Telos Deluxe Time Hunter book of The Sideways Door. Now moving on to other sort of Telos Deluxe books. Next one is quite a chunky one, Back to the Vortex. I've had a brief look through this and I've read one chapter of it, I do believe, and from what I read, this was an absolutely great sort of exploration into the rebirth of Doctor Who. I think this was absolutely very interesting read from the one chapter, or two chapters that I read of it. It's basically a massive, comprehensive 400-page guide to the rebirth of Doctor Who in 2005. Picked this up for 15 quid on Amazon. I believe in this and Back to the Vortex 2 are two of the easiest Telos Deluxes you can get, as they're still in print on the site and are relatively cheap on Amazon, floating around the 15-20 quid mark. But yeah, there was that. Back to the Vortex, really nice, sort of sturdy, thick Doctor Who book to have, and is a really nice sort of thing to have, an interest, sort of a nice thing to have, because it's like a guide of how Doctor Who was brought back and whatnot, and the sort of inception of its revival. And I do believe in the centre this has like pictures from the revival, I'm not sure how many though. Yeah, it's got 2 sections of pictures. You've got just sort of chairs of the actors and sort of pictures from filming and behind the scenes, and a couple more in the back here. But yeah, really nice stuff. As I said, Telos, as I said beforehand, Telos doesn't really fail to impress in terms of well crafted and well done Doctor Who books. Then we have Talk Back the 60s. This is another relatively easy Telos deluxe book to get. I managed to pick this up for 15 quid at David J. Howe's store at Dimensions 2016, which is also where I purchased the Telos, which is also where I purchased Times Champion. So yeah, this was 15 quid, and I thought, why not? It's a 60s era book, and I probably would have gotten this from the Telos site anyway, because I'm just a nut for 60s era Doctor Who. My favourite era of the show, as I've probably stated beforehand in this video, which I think I did, or in the last part rather. But yeah, picked this up for 15 quid from Dimensions. Really happy about that, and it's a very low number as well, number 9 out of 200, which is pretty cool. So there we go, there, the Telos Talkback of the 60s. Then we're moving into the sort of last sort of little section of this Signature Collection multi-parter with 5 more books. We have the Raymond P. Cusick Signature Collection Telos Deluxe book, which is sort of accompanied by its brother, the Barry Newbury Signature Collection Telos Deluxe book. Yeah, these are 2 sort of books about the, I think, the first 2 real major set designers and producers, or set designers for Doctor Who in the past, and these are really rare books. Last time I saw these things on eBay was whenever the listing that I purchased. Yeah, so these are really rare books. These are limited to 100 quid. Limited to 100 quid. That's exactly what I wanted to say. Limited to 100 copies each, and yeah, they're very rare and quite sought after by collectors, and I am quite lucky to have both of these in my collection. But yeah, they're like extensive sort of photographic documentaries of the sort of set designers' work on Doctor Who from photos taken by themselves. But yeah, I've read the Barry Newbury one, and it is a really good sort of collection, and really nice, quick, easy half-hour read, really good. And haven't read the Raymond P. Cusick one yet. But yeah, last time I saw these, as I said, on eBay was the listing that I managed to get. It was a bid listing, and from what I can remember, this is one of the most scariest and epic listing battles I ever set upon on eBay. From what I can remember, probably the most intense and epic one to date, from what I can remember. And I managed to get both of these books because they're being sold together in one listing for £76, which is really good, because that makes it roughly 35 quid each that I spent for them, and their original retail price is £40 each. Their RRP is 40 quid each. So yeah, really good price for them, I would have said, as they are now out of print, and really rare and really nice to have in my collection. Moving on to the sort of last 3 here, we have Blue Box Boy by Matthew Waterhouse. This I obtained at Belfast Comic Con 2018, where Matthew Waterhouse was a guest, and at his stall he was selling Doctor Who pictures and Doctor Who books written by him, all sort of books written by him in and around Doctor Who, for 10 quid each, and for you to for him to sign them as well, if you know what I mean. And I picked up this, I believe it's a 4th edition of the book, published this year. So yeah, originally published in the UK in 2010 by Hearst Publishing, reprinted 5 times, 4th impression 2018. But yeah, really nice to have in the collection, and it is nice to have another sort of non-fiction Doctor Who book in the collection. As you can see, very nice, sort of clean cut, no dedication, autograph there. I think he even tried to score out his name at the top there, which is quite interesting. But yeah, there we go, picked this up for 10 quid from his stall at Belfast Comic Con 2018. Up next we have another thing that I picked up from Dimensions 2016, which was really fruitful time for Doctor Who books, sort of October time. Yeah, this is another thing that I picked up there, also at David J. Howe's stall, and if I was to ever do like a top list of my ultimate items in my collection, this would be up there in the top greatest ones in my opinion. This is the 2016 reprint of the Target book by David J. Howe himself, which is pretty much the Bible of Target books, and yeah, absolutely fantastic to have. And as you would expect, yes, I bought this from David J. Howe himself, and he signed it for me. And I went to Dimensions 2016 around the 6th, 7th, 8th weekend in the month, around the 6th, 7th, 8th, yeah, which was about 2 weeks before my 18th birthday, because my birthday was also in October, or my birthday is also in October, and so was Dimensions that year, 2 weeks beforehand. So I went to Dimensions 2016 for my 18th birthday, and with that context I managed to get this book hand signed by David J. Howe, dedicated to me for my 18th birthday. So it says, "To you and happy 18th, smiley face, best wish, David J. Howe." So for that sort of reason alone, this is sort of a very nostalgic and sort of, I don't really know how to put it, really sentimental and personal, I guess you'd say, item in my collection. It really means a lot to me, that one. And then, oh boy, save the best for last. If you've been following me for a while now, or if you've probably had a look through my videos on my channel, you probably know that I have this. And I'm going to take the camera off of the stand for this one. This is the big bad boy himself, the Early Years Deluxe. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, this was 20 quid at David J. Howe store. But anyways, back to this beautiful thing. Yes, the Early Years Deluxe. A collector's item most collectors can only dream about having. As you can see, it's signed by Jeremy Batham and Raymond P. Cusick, and it's number 169 out of 200 copies, which is really cool, because if you add a 9 in there, it's 1969, the year 1960s Doctor Who ended. But yeah, the Early Years Deluxe. What do I really need to say? It's the fucking Early Years Deluxe. Got this on eBay quite a while ago, back in November of 2017, and it was quite a risky listing, because the only 2 pictures to the listing was this of the autograph page and this here, and this was the only real way I could tell that this was the Early Years Deluxe, by the picture of this page here. That's the only way I could tell it was the Early Years Deluxe. But yeah, as you can tell, I took a huge gamble on this Doctor Who book, and I ended up securing it. Didn't part with it for 30 quid or anything like that. If I did, that would have been incredible. But yeah, I did spend quite a bit of money on this Doctor Who book, and I ended up parting with £205 for it, which is quite a lot for a Doctor Who book. But if you think about it, this thing is worth 500 quid from what I've heard, so I paid less than half for it, which is absolutely incredible, and it is an absolute beauty and an amazing thing to have in my collection as a 60s era fan of Doctor Who. And yeah, just extremely happy to have it. And there we go, that was my signed Doctor Who book collection for 2018. So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Pitch Gold Black, dematerialising.